today's guest is actually going to be me. But what we are going to do, the person who is going to come on and kind of be here, sweet, is LastMarauder. So let me just call him. We'll get him on a chat. And then once he is here, then we can go from there. Once he's actually answering. He might not answer yet. We'll have to wait and see. So yes, so that is what's going to happen. He's going to be interviewing me. I talk about, obviously, my mental health a lot on this show. And because I talk about it a lot, I feel that you guys should kind of know my story. And I've never I've never done it yet. So the idea is for you guys to know my story, kind of what happened to me, how I've kind of got myself to where I am now, which is, still on tablets, the whole lot. For me, it's one of them I could probably talk for hours and hours and hours about it, but that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen, okay? But we will go through most of the things so you kind of know what I went through and how I've kind of come out of it, the people that have helped me come out of it, or as much as it can, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's quite exciting, really. Right, so as I say, I am not prepared at all. But let's have a little look because I do need to. Right, put you up. So we're going to browse. We're going to do that, and we're going to do that. And okay. Cool. Right, so as always, we start with a little bit of news. So with regards to the news, I am going to let me just bring all this up because again I wasn't prepared for this. So I'm going to put this in the chat. So this is the article. It's so news. Anyway, here we go. So news. So here we are. News is actually really, really cool. So basically, there's a news story that's been in the Metro, and this was 13th of March. Okay, 2022, and was put into the Metro. And for me, stuff that goes into these type of papers and a bit of the kind of media, I suppose, that everyone kind of reads, especially on the train, etc. In the higher kind of more viewed tabloids, I think is amazing. The whole story, okay, I'm obviously not going to read the whole story for you, but it gives you an idea and the gist and all that kind of stuff. So this is about a person that basically says, okay, the title here is Xbox Game Pass Saved My Mental Health. And this is from a reader. So a reader kind of put this up, and yeah, it just basically tells how the Xbox Game Pass saved his mental health. So a reader explains Xbox Game Pass offer a cheap access to dozens of new games meant so much to him after losing his job. So, as we always know, COVID, pandemic, the whole kind of thing, there was a lot of people losing jobs, a lot of people kind of furlough, and it was hard for a lot of people, and money was tough. It was really tough for a lot of people, especially people that lost their jobs. It was super hard. And for those people, yeah, a lot of people don't have an outlet. Like us, like we're gamers, we're streamers, we're content creators, whatever we are, our outlet is kind of that. This person didn't have an outlet. But Xbox Game Pass was, I think it was £1, I think. I'm sure it was £1 or something like that. And you could basically play loads of games. And so this person, he couldn't really afford to do anything but £1 a month or whatever it was, I can't remember at the time, gave him a choice of millions or like hundreds of games, not millions, hundreds of games to choose through and just kind of, zone out, I suppose. And the article is really good. So I do say I think everyone should go and read it. It's brilliant, and it kind of shows you that what games they kind of played and enjoyed, and it kind of got them through the pandemic, through not having a job, and at a great price. And there are obviously there's other companies doing very similar things. It's not just Xbox, but Xbox this is the story of the Xbox One, and it's in the Metro. And I think you definitely have to give it a read for sure. Right, so we're gonna literally get in contact with Marauder now. So, hello, Marauder, you are live. Welcome. Thank you for doing this, mate.
That was very sudden. I was listening to your stream, it was obviously slightly delayed, and then all of a sudden it was
you're in, let's go.
Hello, Marauder. And I was like, oh god.
So yes, I've just explained to everyone this is a last minute type of thing. But as I say, like, super excited to have you on again. Only seems like a couple of weeks. I think it was only probably a couple of weeks. Yes, so it is my story. And I was going to put myself in the TV and Marauder sitting where I was, but I don't think that's going to happen, so I apologise to everyone. Because by the time I do it all, it's going to look a little bit weird, maybe.
Yeah, it'll take a little while, won't it?
Exactly.
I can share my screen if you want it, but it's got the green screen behind me at the moment, so...
That is fine. Right, so if you do that, let me bring you up there. Let's put you on the TV, and then let's do this. So, I apologise, everyone, because it's going to be a bit weird, and then I'm going to have to put a green screen on him, so hold on 2 seconds. Actually, I could probably do it this way round first. Let's try. I'm a little bit excited. Oh, yeah, that might work. Okay, let's have a look. Let's see if this works. 3, 2, 1. It is a green screen. Blacked out.
There you go. Beautiful.
There we go. Look at that. Perfect. So, yes, I haven't even checked the levels of the chat. Can you have a little...
I'll have a little listen, mate. Let me unmute it.
I'm pushing you up a lot higher. Chat away for me.
Yeah, so I'm trying to listen to myself.
That's fine, I've got you. I've got the levels. I think the
cool.
levels are good. Cool. So, I kind of want to put something in your background now, but it's a bit, Right, anyway, so, Monkey, thank you very much. So, as always, this is going to be exactly the kind of same format, I guess, but it's going to be more Marauder interviewing me, which is going to be a bit bizarre, and it'll be about my story, etc. And yeah, I'll let Marauder go in. I don't really know what we're going to say, but
sweet. This is going to be weird for me because I haven't live streamed for probably about 2 years. So interesting times. This is going to be an interesting video. So let's get into it. So I've known Love Mitt now for probably coming up for about 4 years, and we've gone through a couple of similar mental health related stuff. So it's been nice for me personally to have someone to talk to about it and who has gone through what I've gone through, pretty similar, and actually understands exactly what I was going through when I was going through it, and he's really, really helped me out through it, and he is an absolute legend, but I'm sure you guys all know that. But I want to hear, first of all, obviously, start off with gaming. Where did gaming start for you, mate?
Yeah, so gaming for me is and this is going to show my age massively now, is really young. So I had a ZX Spectrum. So I must have been, I can't even, it must have been 5, 6, must be. ZX Spectrum was, yeah, it must. And if you don't know what a ZX Spectrum is, it is it's a keyboard, and on the side of the keyboard had a tape deck that you would put the tapes in, click it down, press load, and it would do the old, like the old internet kind of thing used to do, and then you could play these like games. So yeah, ZX Spectrum was my first ever kind of console on gaming, and I remember my dad kind of showing me, and I had my it was my great uncle, I think, used to make games for it. And they're all kind of like proper old little Cody games, like real like pixel games, etc. And but one of my biggest memories of that console, and I see this is where I must have been older, but then again, back in the day, we were allowed to go out and do whatever we wanted as kids at a young age. But I remember going into town, which is quite a hike. We cycled into town, and to get a new game for the ZX Spectrum, and it was called Fantastic Dizzy, or the Fantastic World of Dizzy, and it was about an egg, and he used to travel around, and it's just a side-scrolling game, and you would pick up items to use elsewhere. So you pick up a bit of meat, and you'd feed a troll, and the troll would disappear. If you didn't have the bit of meat, it'd kill you, and so on and so forth. And it was wicked, like so good. It was one of my best memories of kind of that ZX Spectrum. And then obviously from there on, it's pretty common to, I suppose, everyone else's really. So I had a Mega Drive after that. And then I kind of wanted a Nintendo, but kind of never got one. We used to swap consoles back in the day, which was amazing. So yeah, I swapped my Mega Drive for an N64 or a SNES, sorry, and then back again and all that, and then PlayStations and so on and so forth. So I've had every PlayStation apart from the 5, because obviously I'm PC now, so I don't really want the 5. Don't really kind of need it for what I do. And the games are all on here. What I want to play, there's nothing particular on the 5 that I want. So, but yes, that's kind of my gaming background, I suppose. So a long time. Games have been with me for a long time, and through a lot as well. A lot.
Before me, mate, I started at the NES. I think was my first one. So that was my first one. So what's your relationship like with gaming then? Is it your escape? Is it your poison? How do you see gaming for you?
So definitely escapism, 100%. I think as a kid was probably a little bit poisonous. And I think that's kind of a lot of people go through that stage, I would say. It was always an escapism. I mean, again, when we were younger, we were the generation that would go out and not come back until dinner time. We would go out all day. And I remember like the summer holidays being like so long. Like the longest like days and weeks, and the sun was amazing and like really weird. Like it just used to be water balloon flights and going around mates and playing football all day and just
stuck up trees.
Exactly, 100%. It was all of that, making dens, the whole thing. So gaming was still there for me through that time, but not as much. My teenage years, I think, were the one I was. And my parents will say this. I was a troublesome teenager, police around the house, all that type of thing. And I wasn't the best teenager. I really wasn't. I was a bit of an arsehole, let's put it that way. But gaming for me was definitely like if I was grounded and when I was grounded, and it was kind of there, as an escapism. Obviously I was grounded, so I was only allowed to play it for X amount of time or whatever. And then later years of school, because I used to play, so I'm going to ramble a little bit here, sorry. So I used to play field hockey for Essex and East of England as a kid. So really high standards. A lot of the time we'd be away all over the country. My mum and dad taking me everywhere, which was just amazing. And then just got to a stage and you kind of just fades out, I suppose, and you just don't care anymore. It's something different, and gaming then kind of, I suppose, took over my sport, I suppose is the way of saying it. And then my schoolwork was really kind of suffering, and all that kind of stuff, really. But then I was kind of. I'm lucky, I suppose. For some reason, I never studied for any of my GCSEs. So anyone in Scotland, I can't remember what it is. It's Hires, I think it's called, or something like that. And obviously in America, it's something different. But I didn't study for any of my GCSEs. So my mock exams, I failed every class. And then when it came to my GCSEs, I still didn't revise at all. I would game. I'd literally open a book and go, nah, and then I'd just game. And it was really bad. It was awful. But for some strange reason, don't ask me how, I did pretty well in my
Yeah.
GCSEs. It must
Do
have
you know
just,
what? I'm the
yeah,
same there, mate. I didn't study,
yeah,
and I don't know why. And I do sort of kick myself because I was thinking, well, what could I have done if I did?
yes,
But
yeah,
at the same time, I got good grades. I didn't fail
hmm,
anything. So, it's a
yep,
bit of a miracle.
yeah. Is that? And it was really strange. So something must have gone in and stayed in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so kind of then after that and college was a bit of the same gaming. We used to kind of jump college to play games. Our friend Daz would absolutely love this because we used to like bunk college to go and play N64, and it was WW. I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the wrestling games,
Yeah.
or Rumble, or whatever it was, and we used to bunk college to play this game, me and a mate, and it was just like, it was crazy. Like, what are we doing? And again, you think back now, and you're like, we just sat there all day just playing the game. Like, it was just
Mhm.
really weird. So yeah, gaming was my escapism, is my escapism, but was kind of toxic when I was growing up. Especially, I think that the teenage years were the worst for me for gaming because I would
Mhm.
just lose myself. I'd stay up late. I would all that type of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people do. It's one of those things, and if it is escapism, especially, it's one of those things that when things get tough, like exams and thinking about your future and thinking about that sort of stuff. If it's getting tough and you are thinking about those sorts of things, gaming then is even more of an escapism because you don't want to focus on the
Yeah,
stressful situations. You pull yourself away from them. I'm like I said, I'm pretty similar to you in what you just said then. And when it came to like job hunting, I used to go into town where obviously the job centre was and all that sort of stuff.
yeah,
And instead of going there, I'd go around to Darren's house and
yeah,
we play video games. And it
yeah,
was it was the same thing. I think people use it when you've got the escapism there for just normal situations. When the situations get heightened, like they would do in exams and jobs and all that sort of stuff,
yeah,
it's even more of an escapism there as well.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
100%. I think you're bang on right, and that's I actually got diagnosed with dyslexia in I think it was literally like my last year of high school. Like that's late.
yes,
Like so late, and again, that's not an excuse. There's no way an excuse, and I don't ever use that as an excuse. But it probably would have helped if that was diagnosed a little earlier to help me revise. Even though I did okay, as you said, you kind of kick yourself because you probably could have done better.
hmm
But
so do you think then the late diagnosis probably had an effect on the reason why you were the way you were in your teens? Obviously, you said you was a bit of
yeah,
a wrong un.
yeah,
Do you reckon that because you were struggling at school, it was a bit of an outlet for you?
yeah, I think so, definitely, 100%. Like
Yeah.
it would just, yeah, you'd be out kind of late, and you'd go like, I lived in a tiny little village, like tiny, no street lights, no nothing. It was a tiny little village, loads of farmland. So yeah, we used to get in trouble with the farmers all the time, and then that's how
Mhm.
the police kind of got involved. And then you get involved with like a couple of wrong kids, I suppose, and
Yeah.
it just goes from there, you know. I mean, nothing ever bad, you know, nothing like really.
Yeah.
But obviously, it was bad enough for police to come around the house, but you know, but yeah, it's and I do believe that. I think my dyslexia, I think because I struggled, and especially kind of reading, I find
Mm.
reading kind of really tough, and even still to this day. And I get my way around it. I've learned how to do it myself, which was hard because you're teaching yourself something that you don't even
Yeah.
know. Um, but yeah, I think if but then it's that thing, isn't it? If and could and should and would but maybe I might have been a little bit better. But then I still found, even after I got diagnosed, I still found studying super hard,
Yeah.
super hard.
Yeah, which is understandable. I think that was a really interesting point for me personally because obviously in my job I deal with quite a lot of troubled kids and
Hmm.
try to help them in situations. So it was interesting to see that the correlation there I see quite a lot now
Yeah.
is if they don't get a diagnosis or if the diagnosis is late, then they've already started down that path that could
Yes.
lead them into like real criminality and that sort of stuff, and
Hmm.
and then obviously from that move on to different sort of obviously mental health issues from the stress that comes with all that
Yes.
side of things as well.
Yeah.
And obviously you mentioning that like luckily you've come out the right side of that situation,
Yeah.
but I just think it is obviously a worthy point of mentioning that actually if especially parents, and obviously we're both very
Yeah.
new parents,
Yep.
if you notice anything, get it checked.
Yeah.
pretty quick, because
Exactly.
early diagnosis always helps everything.
Yeah, I agree. And my sister, she's a psychologist, and she deals with like troubleshooting kids as well. And it said exactly the same thing. It's there's a lot of diagnosis that still is undetected, or actually, there was the podcast that I was supposed to be playing today. Actually, which I'm going to play next week now as a pre-recorded. Katie, she has ADHD, but she's still undiagnosed. But that's obviously, and she's 29.
Yeah.
And I know it's obviously different. It's America, and we don't obviously know the difference. That's quite, it's quite hard. We don't know what's what and how things work there, but we know what works here. And there's a lot. And you are right. I think if as a parent or even friends, family, anyone that kind of sees anything and they're like, look, why are you going down this route? Like this wasn't you 2 years ago, and now it is. And yeah, I'm not saying there's always something like that, but it's always a question to have, I think.
It's a high possibility there could be.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So obviously we touched on the fact, like, obviously going through certain situations makes the obviously gaming addictions or the escapism higher. So now, obviously, I mentioned earlier we went through very similar things mental health wise.
Yeah.
So do you want to have a sort of chat through what you went through and
100%.
how that affected like the addictions and that sort of stuff?
Yeah. So for me, I was kind of, I think fine. The word has got to be fine. I was as normal as anyone normal could be, I suppose. And I lived abroad. Had this, like, if you talk about it, I had this. It was an amazing life. Me and my girlfriend, my partner, my other half now, we had the best life I think anyone could ever ask for, and I mean ever. Like, we were living in the mountains. We had, we could get free food, free drink, like just have a great time, like go snowboarding every day, go partying every night if we wanted to. Like, we didn't because we were older, but everything was available. You could, the life, we lived in Italy, so it was very kind of very chilled out, that type of thing. So that was our life. And then, but it did change, and it was getting harder, and we felt we had to come. Well, no, we had to come back, but living abroad and moving every 6 months, we kind of felt, it's a bit much. We want to start a life, want to start a family. Let's go back, and I ended up landing a ski and snowboarding job within like universities and university students, and ended up over in Gloucester, Cheltenham. I worked in Cheltenham, so that's how kind of me and Marauder are very close. She lives around that area, and that's kind of where I was. And the job was brilliant, like so much fun. Money was okay. Like, we moved everything, our whole lives over that way for this job. And my missus had a job as well that way, so it was fine. Further on down the line, a few years down the line, every month the owner would be like, can't pay you full amount. Can I pay you a little bit, or can I do this? And the worst thing about it, I'm a nice guy. I think I'm a nice guy, and I trust people. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I'm a nice guy, but I trust people. I really do. And now I'm different, but at that time I was like, yeah, look, don't worry. I totally understand. Like, it's fine. Like, just next month, just put the extra in, or if you can do it in 2 weeks' time, whatever. And then the next month came, and he'd be like, look, I can't pay you the whole thing, but here's a little bit. So in my head, I was like, oh, that's fine. Like, he's paying me X amount of money a month. It's fine. It's okay. Anyway, worst comes to the worst, and it kept on happening, and the business then went under. And as the business went under, I totted up kind of what I was owed, and it was 10.5 grand.
Jesus. It's a house deposit. Jesus Christ.
So the maddest thing is that it never felt it was that much money, but because it was little by little, it adds up quick, obviously. But it was kind of like, you're like, shit. And then I was 10.5 grand out of pocket, because I always thought I was getting that money back at some point. Yeah. I was out of a job, and because I was out of the job, Like they had no income, all that type of stuff. And so we were still going into the office, even though it was going under, we were still going into the office just to basically clear everything out and get everything out. And basically, for me, take stuff that I could take that was going to be some money towards me at some point. On the way to the office, there was a traffic jam and someone was trying to cut me up and constantly keep cutting me up. Like, honestly, we were centimetres away from crashing. Like, and we're only going about 2 miles an hour, but centimetres. And this woman was in a people carry, just constantly pushing in. And I was just getting more and more kind of like wound up. And at the time, I didn't know what happened. But I had a panic attack in the van I was driving, and I got to work, and I don't know the whole rest of the day. I literally cannot remember the whole day. And I got home, and when I got home, it was like the missus, as always, how's your day? And I broke down into tears. That was it. And like, literally, I couldn't speak. I couldn't anything. And she was like, what's going on? What's going on? And I couldn't explain it. I could not explain it. And that's kind of, how it started. And then, went to the doctors literally the day after, and exactly the same thing. She asked me, like, so what's going on with you? Why are you here? And I started crying. And she was like, okay, let's maybe get you on some medication. Let's talk about getting... The hardest thing, the therapy side was really hard, because it was like, look, we can get you to a therapist to talk to. I was like, brilliant. That'll be like really helpful. It's like this, having a chat, it'd be amazing, And they're like, right, so we've put you in the waiting list, and it's going to be like 9 months. I'm like, sorry.
Right. Brilliant.
9 months. You go private, you pay like, what, 45 quid, 50 quid a session, and you can get it tomorrow, or get it this afternoon. But it was something like 9 months.
9 months, crazy. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, there's certain things obviously in the NHS, you expect to wait for it, and
of course.
Mum's just had a hip operation, like. You're going to have a waiting period because people are waiting for it to be earned, so you're on a wait. But when it's things that are, there wouldn't be a waiting period as such for somebody who's got a catastrophic heart condition. You would try and get that person in as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And the level of mental health and what it can do to people, and the inevitable sometimes outcome that can happen from it.
Yeah.
It's just, I just can't process how it is 9 months wait. This just is crazy, absolutely crazy.
And
so at this time, what was your what symptoms were you experiencing initially straight away then? Because that's something that's not really talked about as well. It's a bit sort of taboo. Like, what was your experience with your anxiety straight away?
Of course, so the panic attack was, I remember literally, and it was instantly for me, and it isn't now if I ever have a panic attack, because I kind of know the symptoms of it growing. But at that time it was instant, and it felt like my head was going to explode. Like, it wasn't a migraine, but it was the worst headache like ever. Heart felt like it was going to jump out my chest, which I then thought, am I going to have a heart attack, which is very common. Sweaty palms, shaky, and then memory loss. As I say, that whole day, I don't know anything. I remember getting to work, and that is it. I don't remember anything else. And then I remember coming home, and then after I came home, that's kind of when I, remember obviously speaking to the missus, but I don't remember that night, and I remember talking to the doctor, and then realistically for probably about a month I don't really remember much. And it was a lot of that. So first off, with the panic attacks, it was all of the above. I was never felt nauseous, so I was never on that side of it. And I was never kind of, because I know like sickness and obviously like stomach pains and all that kind of stuff can come from that as well. For me, it wasn't. It was just the headaches and kind of that type of vibe, and the sweats and that, and then from that, the depression side afterwards, I couldn't get out of bed. There was days and days I would just be in bed, and then everything goes from your hygiene, like not showering, not cleaning your teeth, not eating, and then not sleeping. Um, it was, and the worst thing I always think about it now is it was so tough for me, but for my other half, it must have been horrendous. Like horrendous, because she wants to fix everyone, and there was no way of me being fixed like instant, like. And she thought it
No
was
quick fix.
yeah, she thought, is it me? Like constantly asking, and it was that thing, isn't it, where people keep constantly asking, oh my god, have I done anything wrong? Then you get annoyed, angry as well. I got angry to start off with because I didn't understand. I'm very logical, so I kind of know when a panic attack's coming on, like, or okay, I'm a bit stressed. That's why it's going to happen. I kind of but everything at once, I was so lost of why this was happening.
Yeah,
and yeah, so that's symptoms wise. That's all of that. All of the kind of common stuff, I suppose.
Ones, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And you say about obviously the hygiene and the not getting out of bed, and unfortunately, it's one of the worst things that you could possibly do because the healing process, which is why this thing is so good, and like I said, I love you doing this podcast.
Thank you.
It's great because it gives people a place to come if they want to and actually have an outlet, and you don't have to do it face to face. Because I know when I was going through it, like a couple of my best mates and some of my family were like, "Oh, come round," and I just like, I don't want to see you. I don't want to see you. But if I could possibly do it anonymously through a chat bar and say, "Look, I'm going through some stuff and I'm struggling." I feel like having that outlet that you wouldn't necessarily need to have your face showing, or you wouldn't need to speak to someone face to face, would just be so much better, and not necessarily a professional as well. Because I the thing with me as well is, obviously you said about the 9-month waiting. I didn't want the counselling or anything like that because I just didn't feel like it would work for me personally. But I would see a professional from someone who's similar professional backgrounds. I look at people as clients, not as people, and I can imagine professionals doing that as well, and I wouldn't want to go through that sort of conversations with them. So this, like I said, I just, I went through very similar. I would locking myself away, and if you are going through something like this, I would just say, I know it's tough, and I know it will hurt, but getting out there and speaking to people, you don't have to go for everything, but just going out there and have a conversation, you might forget about it for 5 minutes, and it get those endorphins going. And it will potentially help, but it is so hard to do it at the time. It really is.
Yeah, it is, and that was my, and it is, as you say, you need to get up, you need to have a shower, and as soon as you have a everyone knows this. As soon as you have a shower, clean your teeth, you feel better. Make your bed, step outside for like 20 minutes, have a walk. Everyone knows, and I'm still really bad with that, with going out. Still really bad. Like, going out, taking the dog for a walk, and then Mrs. like, do you want to come out? And I'm like, oh, do I have to? But as soon as I'm out, I feel better. Right. But it is that, and I am still at that stage, like, of getting out the house. I mean, I am very lucky. I always say this, I've got the little one, and so I have to go out with classes. If I didn't have that, then I think we'd be going slightly backwards for me personally. And yes, someone's put here in the chat is exercise can help, and I did. I got a gym membership, and I started going. It was brilliant, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't go today, and then the next day I can't go today, and so on and so forth, and then obviously it stops again. But
I found exercise helped as well. I got out on the bike quite a lot when I was going through mine, so it really did help. I have noticed there's been a few things in the chat, but we was obviously full flow, so I will come back to them. At the end potentially. You're obviously, you started with the anxiety, it moved on to depression. What treatments and how did it go from there?
Yeah, so with regards to that, they put me literally on the day after my breakdown, because it was a breakdown. It's nothing. There was nothing. It was a full-on breakdown, without a doubt. That's what happened to me, and so I was straight onto medication, really low. I think it was like 50 milligrams, and I can't remember which one it was. I've been on 2 sets of antidepressants now, and they say that with the antidepressants, again, it can take 6 weeks or something to start, and you'll feel worse before you feel better. And I was like, how can I feel worse? You know, but you kind of do, because then that was that whole situation of being in bed, staying in bed, feeling really low mood, really down. And yeah, so that was kind of the medication kind of route. And I'm still on medication now. And last year I upped my medication again because there was a big change in my life, massively, from last year, from my little one being born to my mother-in-law having brain surgery and having to kind of move up to Scotland. So that was very stressful, so I had to up mine then. The therapy side, so yes, it was a 9-month wait, but after, I can't remember how long it was, maybe 2 months, maybe 2-3 months, I can't remember. They then, because I obviously kept ringing up and saying, look, is there any spaces? Anyone dropped out? Has anyone done anything? And it was, they said, well, what we can do, we can put you onto group therapy. And I was like, anything's got to be better. And my missus was like, just go. Like, anything's got, and I was like, okay, fine, but will I still be on the other waiting list? And they said, yeah, I'll still be on the other waiting list. And I was like, okay, fine. So I went to this group therapy, and me personally was probably the worst thing ever. Like, and it's really hard because there's people there. Like, I felt like a fraud when I went because, like, I was in my head, like, yes, I've got this, but like some of these people, their issues, their backgrounds, it's horrendous, and there was like totally understandably why they are having issues. Where me, in my head, it was like, well, I just owed some money and that's it. And it's not that easy, is it? Because your brain and everything just works how it works. And I felt like an absolute fraud. And it was really hard because it was just, I don't know. It really weren't for me. And I think I did like 4 sessions and I was like, get me out of here. Like, this was...
To be honest, when you said group therapy, instantly I shuddered at the thought of it. I don't think I would have enjoyed that at all.
Exactly.
But it's interesting to say that you felt like a fraud because, I mean, like... Obviously, what you're going through, so the way you were beforehand, you was just saying, obviously you had this perfect life, you know, and all that sort of stuff, and then you've gone into this now life where you're working and you're in, just the UK, and then obviously you're owed a lot of money, your job goes to pot. So for you, actually, that is a drastic change in situation that can make you feel the way that you were feeling. And in your actual little bubble of life, like the situation's dropped so drastically, and actually, probably, you're saying some of these people have got really like bad, backstories or whatever, but the drop from them going from obviously their bad backstory obviously isn't great to start off with, but their drop might not necessarily have been as big as yours. They might have gone from like a bad home life to, still having a bad home life, but then, now living in a place where they don't really want to be living or something on those sort of lines. And it's very similar to yours in actually, but obviously just because they started at a worse place than you, it still had the same effect. And you're saying you feel like a fraud, but actually, you're going through something very similar to what everyone else is going through. And at the end of the day, there's no fraudulent people when it comes to mental health. If you've got mental health issues, you've got mental health issues. So
no, it is a really nice way you put it like that. 'Cause it is, and I say this quite regularly. I can't even say that word. Regularly, but I feel that living abroad and having the life I've had has ruined me, and it sounds so bad and so, I don't know, like ungrateful. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know, but like, again, as I said, we had a social life if we wanted it. We had, whatever we wanted, we could have had. If we wanted to stay in, we stay in. Go out, eat out, eat in, like go snowboarding, sit in the sun. We had whatever life that was, and it was insane. And I think it's ruined us because I know there is and it's really horrible saying this, and but I know there's a better life. And that's really hard to say that. But I know there is a better, and we even talked about this, me and the missus, when we had the little one. We were even tempted to go travelling, in the camper van, with him for a couple of years or whatever and just travel, because the missus could work anywhere. I can really do design work from anywhere. And obviously things happened, and then obviously life changes, and we were like, actually we do want a house, and so on and so forth. And that's why I'm still, and again it's harsh to say, but I'm still anti-UK.
Yeah.
I still am very anti-UK, because they're like, if you haven't got your own house and a kid by 23 or 22 or whatever it is, you're failing life. It's a massive UK thing. This is anywhere in Europe, pretty much 80% of the people do not own; they rent. You know, their lives are brilliant. No, not brilliant. That's harsh to say, because everyone has their issues. But you know, but then a lot of places in like Italy, their government's awful. Our government's awful. So grass is never greener, but at the moment, sometimes it feels like it is.
Yeah. It's obviously adapting to the change and the changing situations and the social pressures. Like you said, in the UK, you are expected to, go to school, go to college, get a job, get a house, find a partner, have kids. Like it's the steps that everyone should be following, and you're right, it is that, and I think my obviously my perspective changed when I had little, and I'm glad I've got a house now, because I remember my dad one time. My mum was she's not very well, so they had to move out of their house and go into like a bungalowy type thing. And well, I've got one vivid memory that sort of highlights what you were saying about the social pressures. And my dad was in the bathroom. They was looking at these mobile home park home things, and he was devastated. And I was like, why are you so upset? And basically in his head, it was like, yes, it's perfect for my mum, because it's all I wanted was like a bungalow, and it's within their budget and all that sort of stuff. But he was like, what am I leaving you? And it's just sort of like, I'd rather you be happy now than leave me anything. But obviously now I've got little, and my head is thinking exactly the same sort of thing now. It's sort of like, well, I understand these social pressures even more now, because I want to have a house, so I've got something to leave him. If anything happens to me, he's got the money from the house and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, the social pressures are definitely something that happens. I would imagine, I don't know much about other cultures. I'm not as travelled as you are.
Yeah.
But social, I would imagine everywhere has got their own social pressures and their own sort of stigmas that everyone has to stick to. And it doesn't help. But it's how you adapt to them. And
exactly.
Like I said, you're adapting because you're doing what you need for your family, and that 100%. Is all you can ask for anyone, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, yes, exactly. And it's funny you say it, because my mum and dad are very similar, and they're like, well, what are we going to leave you in this? And I'm like, spend it all. Spend it all. Like, go. Like, travel. Like, all that kind of stuff. Because, again, I feel very lucky of what I've done in my life already. And for the generation before us, our mums and dads, our nan and granddads, whoever it is, they never had the opportunity to do it, so they do it in a later life. So I'm like, that's what your money's there for. Do it. Travel the world, see. And they're doing as much as they can. Obviously, COVID the last 2 years has really hit my parents really hard. Because they were traveling all the time, and now it's at each other's throats.
Trapped in that little house together.
So, but it's you are right. You are right. And again, I think slightly different now. Because of the little and it's that thing, isn't it? Also, as well, you want them to obviously feel proud of what you've done as well. So
you want everyone to feel proud, don't you? At the end of the day, trying to explain to my mum what YouTube is just so that she feels proud of me is the most interesting story. But yeah. So how's your mental health improved since obviously the initial outbreak as such?
So it's better. Obviously, it's way better because I'm showering and getting up, and I'm doing stuff, and but it's always still there. It's one of them. I think that for me, I don't think I'll ever be away from it. I think it's always going to be there, from either if it's the anxiety side or slight depression. Panic attacks they don't happen that much anymore. I think my last big panic attacks were probably COVID time, because COVID was happening. The missus was pregnant, and I was having to go to work and see idiots all day long that didn't want to wear masks or wanted to, like, you know, spit in your face and all of that, and people were and so that brought panic attacks on a lot, and I actually had a lot of time off work. So I was in retail a little bit before, well, as COVID was going off. So yeah, so I had I got signed off work quite a bit, and then obviously lockdown came. But yeah, for me, as soon as, it's weird, my mental health got a lot better, and it sounds really strange, but obviously playing online games, but playing online games that I would talk to people. So I used to play online games like COD, that type of thing was my first kind of online games, and I loved it, but I never had a mic, I never really talked to anyone, and it was just you go in and just, you know, shoot people and happy days, you know. And I hate to say it because Fortnite is kind of not my thing anymore, but Fortnite, like, one of the first people I met was a guy called Dan. And we were chatting, like, literally we were playing a game, chatting away, playing Fortnite, and chatting away, and the next minute he was like, oh, do you want to, like, play another one after this? And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. It was like one of the first people to kind of, like, do that, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, you then start saying, oh, bing, like, on my phone, like, you know, Dan's online. You're like, okay, cool, you know, I'll get online and play. And then how I met you, how I met Daz, how I met Ben, all through Fortnite, and we had this little kind of, and it was that escapism I needed. Like, I think beforehand I had escapism, I had, like, hockey, so a sport, I had snowboarding, you know, and then coming back to the UK, I had nothing. And it's hard to say I didn't have nothing because I had life, I had, you know, dog and the missus, and, you know, but you still need your own time and your own space. I think everyone needs something like that, and it was you guys, and it was just that general. It felt like we were down the pub but we were playing games, and that really helped me. And then you then turned around and said, "I'm getting a PC," and I was like, what the hell are you getting a PC for? It's so stupid. Like, what are you going to spend so much money on a PC for? And you're like, well, I played, because you played mouse and keyboard on your PlayStation.
Well, I kind of.
Yeah,
I wanted to be better at Fortnite, so I was playing controller. I bought, obviously, the better controllers with the buttons at the back, and I still wasn't getting any better. I think it's just because I'm rubbish at Fortnite, but I still wasn't getting any better. So I was like, right, what's the next step up? Mouse and keyboard. So I'm going to try that. So got mouse and keyboard for the PlayStation. I was like, right, time to fully upgrade. Let's go.
And you did, and you were like, well, you might as well. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I spoke to the missus and did a bit of research, and I was like, oh, I found a PC for, like, I think it was like 500 quid or something like that. And then I had a monitor from my sister or something. No, I was running it off a TV. I was running it off a little TV to start off with. And anyway, so that's kind of how. And then again, it's all your fault. It's all your fault.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Because then you said, I'm going to start streaming, and I'm going to do it on this platform called Mixer. It's this new thing. You know, if we join now, we can kind of, like, you know, get up there quicker. And, you know. And I was like, okay. And then that was it. That was it. But then that was, and it still is, and it is my therapy. Everyone, I don't like these TikToks. There's other apps out there, but I don't like these TikToks where it's like, gaming is my therapy, and then the next thing they're throwing their controller and smashing it. They're kind of making it as a bit of a joke, but it really is, for me personally. And it's not always about the gaming. I'll say this every week. It's about this interaction with other people, and it's just chatting, and I love it. I love it. I literally,
Well, while you've brought up Mixer, how did your sort of mental health roller coaster go during that time? Because obviously, I mean, your stats are obviously good on this now, but it's sort of taken a long time to get it back up there. Obviously, Mixer, we were pretty much smashing it at one point, weren't we? So
yes.
How did that go for you?
So to start off with, it was brilliant, because it was so much fun. Mixer, and again, you were right, we got in Mixer, I think, at the right time, probably still late compared to some other people, don't get me wrong, but we got in at the right time. And at one point I was very close to applying for partner, You know, I was really kind of close, and it was great fun. But there, as you say, like Mixer had its had its issues, and hit me quite hard because I'm sure it was through. Again, it was COVID, wasn't it? It was happening. I think Mixer went down, or just at the beginning, or
No, I
was it
think
before that? Was it the summer before that? Was it?
Yeah, because I'd stopped streaming before COVID.
Oh, okay, so
Definitely.
it hit me hard, but then I think because I had a outlet that I'd never wanted to lose, I was like, right, I'm gonna go for, you know, because again, I could have gone to Facebook. Could have gone
it was
to
June
YouTube.
2020. Sorry, mate. It was June 2020. Yeah.
There you go. So, so it was. So again, I had time off because I wasn't working. So I was like, right, I'm actually going to now put this, and I'm going to stream pretty much full time, 5 days a week. And I was like, right, I'm going full time, and I went full time on Twitch. And I was like, I'm going to try and hit affiliate as quickly as possible. And I ended up hitting affiliate within. So you got to stream for 7 days. I streamed for 7 days, and I think an average viewers of like 6 or something like that. And you needed 3, and I did all my hours and blah, blah, blah. So literally got like affiliate within that week. And I was like, this is amazing. And then, so it was really exciting. It was great fun. But then, even though I was streaming 5 days a week, the grind was hard. And I nearly got into a stage, and I didn't, because we've had this conversation before. I'm quite regimented with, I'm going to stream for 4 hours and then I'm off. Although at the moment I'm probably doing a little bit too much more in the evenings, like just editing and stuff like that, you know, but that's just, you know, it's hard. But yeah, I got into it was hard, because then the missus like, you coming out, and I was like, well, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and that's why me and the missus, we sat down and I had a proper schedule. Because if I didn't have a schedule, I would have been that person that goes, well, I might as well stream 8 hours today, or I might as well carry on because I've just got a raid, or I might as well do this or do that. Or my hardest time within streaming and gaming, well, more the streaming side, was when just before having the little one, because I couldn't do 5 days. We had to then have the little one, and then we moved. So all of a sudden, my average viewers of, I can't even remember what it was. I mean, it was high. I used to have some really kind of good views on Twitch, and then I think I had to have nearly 5-6 months out of not streaming at all, and then coming back was super hard, and that's where I am now with just streaming 2 days a week. But then this is again another reason why I wanted to do this, because I felt that my mental health was starting to suffer, and I really wanted to talk to people, and I want other people to talk to me and other people, and this needs to be shown more. Is the way. So yeah.
So obviously during the 6 months that you didn't stream, what did you then use as your outlet then, or did you need an outlet then, or?
Yep.
100% in that time?
Massively needed an outlet still. It was hard because obviously having a newborn was obviously rough. Everyone that's been there it's super hard. But again, in a strange way, I was lucky. This is really strange because it wasn't lucky, because my little one wouldn't sleep. So he would not sleep in a cot, in a Moses basket, in a sleep. It would not sleep. So unless he was on my chest. So between the hours of like 10 o'clock at night and 4 in the morning, he would sleep on my chest, and I would sit up playing the computer. Yeah. So I'd sit and I would play the computer. I would watch a bit of TV. I would do that type of thing, and that was my escapism, because that was my lonely time. So that was my own time. You know, the missus was asleep, and then 4 o'clock, missus would get up, like do a little switch, and then she'd take him, and then I'd get up at like 10 o'clock, so then she could go to work.
Yep.
And that was it. So I was very lucky that I did have an outlet in the evenings. As I say, it's a strange way, because it isn't lucky, because he didn't sleep, so that was really hard. But I still had my own time because he was sleeping.
Yeah.
So again, I
You
was
adapted.
yeah, exactly. I was really lucky, and I bought a because we had to move and we were living in a flat. I bought an IKEA desk. Like the whole thing. Like when we knew that we were having to stay up here for a long time. Yeah, the the second journey that I went back down south to pick a load of stuff up, I had my PC.
Yeah.
I had my PC with me. I had the
Yeah.
PlayStation as well, and I started playing a bit of the PlayStation because the PC wasn't. But it's gaming. It is. It's always been gaming my outlet, and it always has, and it always will. And yes, I want to do other things, and yes, I want to kind of get out and about and do other stuff. But gaming's always,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for me personally.
It's always what you come back to. So you did say it was hard coming back. What was hard about the coming back side of things then?
For me personally, and I know people should never talk about like the views, but it was the views. You know, I had a really
Mhm.
nice. I think I had a really nice community, and obviously, people then go and watch other people when you're not there.
Mhm.
And it was coming back, and it was coming back to streaming to one person, which was pretty much me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and that was
Starting the
hard.
grind again.
And it is, and like even to today, like now, like I don't even have my numbers on anymore. I used to
Yeah.
a little bit, like don't get me wrong, probably about a month, 2 months ago, I had it on, but I don't. And you know, sometimes you get a little bit because I mean, this is why I talk all the time, and I talk to myself all the time while I'm gaming. Because if someone does
Mhm.
come in and they don't want to chat, they don't have to. But
Yeah.
I'm still trying to be entertaining, if that's
Mhm.
a word for me.
Yeah. Well, I think even going back to the mixer days, like the fan base that you had. I mean, we did kind of share a fan base, didn't we? As
Yeah,
well,
we
'cause
did. Yeah,
we tend
definitely.
to we streamed at the same time, and we was always playing
Uh-huh.
together, and you know we did share a fan base.
Yeah.
But like even back then, I feel people were gravitating towards you, um, because you wasn't necessarily as open as you are now about your mental health
Yeah,
issues, but
yeah,
you
yeah.
know you could talk about them, I mean a certain person comes to mind, who obviously was going through a lot of mental health issues back then and was in our streams all the time and that sort
Yeah.
of stuff. But I think obviously it's you know your streaming, the way that you do stream does sort of pull those people in that you know that might want to chat or might want to you know get involved
Yeah.
in ways around you know the people that aren't necessarily happy to talk to people in person but are happy to
Yes.
talk through a computer. And you do obviously the way you talk and the way you stream, you know, it does open up those people and let them get involved in ways that they want to.
Yeah.
And it's always been the way. And like I said, uh, when you said about doing this, I just knew it was perfect for you.
I appreciate. Honestly, I really appreciate it. Like, really do. And like, yeah, it's one of them things. It's, and I know it kind of like, it's that thing. I didn't ever want it to be like just two. And this is why I've set the screen up as it is, as well. I don't. Yes, this is a very serious kind of thing we're talking about, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't ever want it to be so serious that kind of like people are like, oh, I don't want to watch this, or I don't, you know. And we still have a laugh and a joke, you know. We still, you know,
Yeah.
it's but the issues are there, and it's yeah. Honestly, I do appreciate it. And the people that that we have met along the way, and the people. It's really weird. In my the people from Mixer that seem like they've stuck around and still been here, or even if they can't be in the stream, like we still talk.
Mm-hmm.
We still do talk about mental health and other things like that. Like, and it's really weird. It is like, and it's strange how this is gravitated to this. But I
Yeah.
think, as you say, I think it's always been on the cards to do in my head.
Yeah, man. Definitely. And like I said, it's such a great format for people to do it because you know the bigger it grows, the more people are coming in the chat, and the more people can anonymously talk about their issues if they don't want to do it
Yeah.
in the group therapy sessions or the face to face sessions. They can do it through this, and hopefully, and I'm sure you probably have already, but hopefully you're going to help people, and I think it's great. I do have two more questions for you though because
Okay.
we haven't really touched on it. So the first one is going to be basically obviously you know you saying initially like the hygiene situation and that was sort of tough on your missus,
Yeah.
but like I think you're similar to me. The support that I've got with my wife and what she's supported me through, and the fact that she lets me go on the computer, like she doesn't
Yeah.
have an issue with me
Yeah.
going on the PC at night and you know doing my YouTube or playing games, and she
Yeah.
understands it, it's the outlet. And I think you've got something very similar. So I didn't know if you wanted to obviously have a clip to show her that bigs her up a bit, so you
Yeah.
can look, I was talking about you.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but it is. You're very right. Like recently though, it's probably worse, I suppose. With I am on the computer a lot,
Mhm.
and that I see starting to be a bit of a problem. I do, like, hands up, and I am very open about that, and even speak to the missus about it, and and even said, like, today, I said, "Oh, I don't think we can do this interview today, like you and me." I said, "I'll
Mhm.
probably be able to do it later on tonight." And I said, "I'm sorry, though, because that'll be me on the computer again in the evening." She said, "Well, you're on it every night," and I'm like, "Shit." So
Yeah, yeah.
I am going over my allotted time, I suppose, but that's in my own head, my allotted time.
Mhm.
But I was supposed to be away in my defense. I was supposed to be away this week, so I wanted to get everything done,
Yeah.
and still game, because
It's been a
that's
busy
still
week for
it's
you.
been a
So,
really
yeah.
crazy busy week. So,
Yeah.
but she has been amazing, and she totally understands.
Mhm.
And even with regards to this, she really wants to help with this at some point, get to where I want it to get. And I've mentioned it before. I want this to be what it is now is brilliant, and it is the start of, I think, a journey that I really want to continue and push harder. And my dream in the next couple of years or whatever it is to do a documentary, and put it on whatever it is, their Netflix or what, a Prime or whatever. Because
Mhm.
my other half, she works in TV, so she works really crazy long hours and works her arse off and is amazing. But then she has insights of how to do it. So this is the start. So she's so supportive of this, and even with the gaming side, she was very supportive. But then this is why I had the schedule, because we then both know what we're doing. The hardest thing for me is that she doesn't have the biggest outlet at the moment, my missus. She doesn't have, so that's why it's quite difficult, I think. She goes and walks the dog, but then if we go together, we're still together. Again,
Mhm.
because we've moved here, I've still got my social group. It's not a social group because it's online, but it is a social group to me.
Yeah.
I've still
Yeah.
got the
Yeah.
people, so I can just talk, where she doesn't have that as much. So it's hard. But honestly, like, it's one of them things I couldn't have done anything without her. Like, she
Mhm.
really is that whole rock in my life, even though sometimes she feels like, she's not, or, I think that's a very, woman, female thing. But
Mhm.
honestly, she's been amazing, and again, as you say, to let me kind of come on and do things like this and stream
Yeah.
and game, and it is amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing. Yeah. And I
Brilliant.
think that to have someone in our lives like that, I think has helped with everything, really.
Mhm.
Even getting me through, like, and it was the same thing, like, she would slightly push me to get out to go for walks. She would, go, right, we're going to go to the gym together. And we've never done that ever, but
Yeah.
we started going to the gym together. And it was all of that. She just did so much and research, and she called all the numbers that are going at the bottom of the screen, to find
Mhm.
out information that could help her, to help me, or just to help her, because again, it's not always about the person that's got the mental health problems and the issues. It's the family members that are around you, or your friends that are around you, that sometimes they need a lot of help and a lot of support.
Mhm.
And their numbers
And
down there
yeah,
are for
these numbers
both.
help out them as
Yeah,
well. Yeah, like
exactly.
really, really help out them.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, it's great. You kind of covered the other question I had there
Okay.
as well, to be honest. So I was going to say, what you see sort of going forward, but you've obviously sort of discussed that about the documentary and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
And
I mean, my vision is, and I know it's a massive vision, but I want to get into the people that are esports, like, famous, or whatever you want to call it, like the esport teams, the obviously the ninjas and the Tim the Tatmans, and the people that are
big
kind of
streamers.
the big streamers, because, and I always see this, the big streamers never talk about it ever.
Mm-hmm.
And,
There's a
like,
couple. I've seen one. I think one
yeah,
personally. They're not really a streamer. They're more of a YouTuber. But I've seen
yes,
one person that's really open about their mental health.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
not a
there's
lot of
actually
people
a
are.
really good, oh my god, who is it now? So I used to watch a lot of Pokemon Go stuff,
Mhm.
and there is a Pokemon Go streamer from America, and he does loads of mental health stuff, and he's brilliant. But yeah, so that would be my biggest goal, is to go even to people like Ali A, like
Yeah.
a UK Ali A, go to
Mhm.
him and go. I mean, the hardest thing, I don't, and I don't know this. This is only me just saying this, is that these people will want to be paid.
Yeah.
And
Possibly.
yes, exactly. And that's again a hard thing, because I always want this to be, I want you to talk about it because I want you to talk about it. I don't want you to go, oh, I'm just going to bring this up and talk about anything because I'm being paid X amount of money for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, that is my future plans. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Cool.
That's the idea.
Sounds good. There was a couple of comments. I don't know if you wanted to discuss them. The first one was, this is when we was talking about, obviously the schooling system and
Yeah.
like, getting a late diagnosis and the general, mental health diagnosis things. They said the system's not great at picking up signs, and it's way too long-winded. Did you feel that obviously when you got your diagnosis at school?
Yeah, huge. Because I was told I was a troublemaker at school. I was told I was a proper troublemaker, like wouldn't learn, wouldn't concentrate, like all that kind of stuff, and then got diagnosed. So yeah, 100%. Like, and I still see it and talk about it now because, as I said, my sister, because she's a psychologist, you see it now. Like kids are suffering because the diagnosis isn't coming in quick enough. But then the issue is, I think, is that there is not enough staff to help diagnose. So it is that really, and especially with COVID, the amount of people now that have got mental health issues and are open about them, it's brilliant that they're open about it, but it's crazy how many people are actually got something or issues.
Yeah, definitely. And the second part of that was talking about the support, saying that the sport needs big improvements. And I was chiming on that first of all from things that I've seen, obviously, in my job. And in the area that I live, we've got a school that's known as like the Naughty Kids School, and it's where the kids are kicked out of mainstream school for whatever reason. They've been disruptive, they've done certain things, and this is normally because they've got something underlying, either mental health issues or learning difficulties or both. They're not sort of functioning in a normal school environment. Getting detentions, getting kicked out of classes. The school aren't supporting them. They then get sent to the naughty schools, and in the naughty schools are where some of the actual kids are that are probably like naughty, the ones like the Drax kids, and throwing these vulnerable people into those situations, from what I've seen, then means that they are then taken under the wing of the sort of more criminally minded, badder kids.
I agree.
And then obviously that brings on its whole new sort of, case of issues. And obviously the support they're not getting through schools, potentially at home as well sometimes, but we won't obviously stereotype that.
Of course.
The support they're not getting at schools means that, when they start getting the support from their peers, they obviously go under their wing, and it can lead down a really sort of troubling path for them, and they do go the sort of criminally minded way. But obviously you've gone through it more than I have. So what was your sort of, what support did you get at school when you obviously with the, you said dyslexia, wasn't it?
So as soon as kind of I got it, it was like it's really weird. Like back then, like again, it's probably so different now, but they gave me different coloured sheets of paper to put over the pages. Oh, is it the same? Okay, so I had that. So they helped me out with that. And then because it was my last year, and was it? I'm sure it was my last year. It was the year of my mocks or something like that. Anyway, you get extra time in your exams. So they give you extra time in your exams, and kind of that was it. Really, there wasn't much else, and I still don't really know what else there could be for dyslexia. I mean, because again, I've dealt with it myself now, and when I went to college, I had nothing, like no help at all really with dyslexia. It was just got on with it, and that was it. And it was a big thing that everyone was like, oh, if you go to university, you get a free laptop if you're dyslexic, and but then I was like, well, that's not really going to help me out because I don't want to learn, because I find it impossible to learn. So why would I want to go to university just to get a free laptop to then have to sell it because I can't like doing it. You know, it was So I never went to uni. But yeah, I think nowadays I don't know what the help is, and I'm sure it's probably slightly more of obviously extra help in
Did you
classes.
get any extra help in tests or anything like that? Like, did you get extra times or anything?
I got extra time at the end.
Yeah.
So, but then again, it's that thing, isn't it? That I think because you are very self-conscious when you're younger. Like I took some of the exams. I sat there, but it's like you're sitting there at the end and everyone's leaving. And they're like, "Well, you can carry on," and I'm like, "This is a bit weird." Like, never got bullied or anything for it, but I mean, I could probably see it happening.
Yeah,
and so, and in class, I think if I remember, sometimes people, they would come in and explain it a little bit more, but it wasn't a lot. And I remember my mum and dad, I think they got me, again, this going back so far, I think I had a math and an English tutor that would come to the house, but that was off my mum and dad's own back and their own money and all that kind of thing. And that was obviously helpful because it's a one-on-one and they're explaining it. But also as well, I was working out how to do things. So again, with math, I would literally work it out totally different to how someone else would work it out. And the same with any problem solving, things like that. I normally do things very different to other people. Very different. But then that's gone on to my own kind of life, even with editing and things like that now. I do a lot of things that I will put money on it. If I ever showed people how I do editing or images or like Photoshop, Illustrator, there'd be people pulling their hair out and going, "Why the hell do you do it that way?" But for me, it works because it's how I've kind of problem solved it and adapted. Yeah.
Cool. There was another thing just in the comments. It was just reiterating what we said about hobbies. Saying also hobbies are important, even if it's something that you do alone. But it's just something that you can obviously do and take your mind off. Obviously, we've touched on that quite a lot.
Yeah.
With the gaming, and obviously that's sort of based around partly what this sort of podcast is about.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's definitely, having hobbies is definitely important to have because it gives you the motivation to go out and do something.
Exactly.
And then the last two comments, there's a couple of quotes in here that I think are just fantastic.
Okay.
And the first one is, everyone's on the same boat, but the journey is different. I just think that's perfect. That was I think was said around when you were talking about your group therapy sessions.
Yeah.
And obviously how you felt like a fraud, but everyone is in the same boat, and the journey is different. Depending on where you start and how far you fall, it affects people differently.
Yeah.
If Bill Gates puts out a software program and it didn't quite go as well as planned, I would imagine he'd have a bit of mental breakdown because he's not earned $1 billion from it. So depending on we're all in the same boat, but the journey is different. Is perfect sort of summary of that.
Yeah, really like
and then the last one I think was just perfect. And again, this was talking about when you was struggling with your hygiene and not wanting to get out of bed and all that sort of stuff. And it's just the hardest thing is opening the front door, and it is. But as soon as you do that, the world's on the other side.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's obviously these little things are nice to be able to say, and it's a lot easier to say than it is to do sometimes.
Definitely.
But if you are going through something, the hardest thing to do is open that front door, and then once you're outside, the world is your oyster. So try it.
Exactly. Amazing, dude.
That was fun, mate. That was
really fun.
Thank
you so much. Thank you. And I hope I've kind of opened up a little bit more and people understand where I've come from. And obviously it's one of them things, isn't it? I think like I've been speaking to a lot of people, and doing the pre-recorded ones, and there are people I am 100% having back. Actually, to tell you the honest truth, everyone I've interviewed I'm having back because their stories aren't finished. And there's so much more there to kind of talk about, and the same. Well, we could probably talk for another 4 hours, but
probably could, mate.
But again, yes, I appreciate all the questions, mate. I appreciate it, and I hope obviously, everyone knows a little bit more about kind of what I've went through, and the
motivation behind doing this.
Exactly that.
It's such a great show, mate, and like I said, I love being a part of this. So thanks for letting me come on and host.
No worries.
It was a bit stressful and a bit late notice, but
I know.
I haven't streamed in so long. I'm glad we didn't have to focus on the comments at the same time, because that was throwing me off a little bit seeing them flick up.
No, it's
But
awesome.
I will tag out and leave you to do your outro, mate.
Appreciate. Thank you so much. I will talk to you in a minute because I have other ideas for other things that I need to talk to you about. Which
Sounds
is
good, mate.
so. But yeah, thank you so much. And yes, I will. Yeah, well, I'll speak to you in a bit.
Catch you later, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
So good. There you go, guys. I hope everyone knows a little bit more about kind of me and why I've wanted to do this, especially, and everything else, really. Again, as always, if anyone wants to DM, comment, like whatever, like we are always open. Me, Marauder, everyone that kind of comes on the show, they've all said they're all open to chat. The Discord is obviously in my about section. It's in the chat here. Also for YouTube, it's all in the comments. And I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate everyone that's jumped in, said hello. I'm sorry, obviously we don't really talk to chat much while we're doing these. But yeah, we are going to game. So we're going to game straight after this. And exactly, it's always there. So yeah, we're going to game after this. I'm not sure what we're going to play actually, or who's about, but we are going to play. So going to get rid of the green screen and all that kind of stuff and go quickly get a drink. But I will be back in a minute. And as always, thank you so much. And for LastMarauder to do this as well, I appreciate. And it's really weird. And it sounds really weird. There's only a couple of people that I probably would have had do this. And yeah, both of the guys that were going to do it. Again, I thank you so much. Like Marauders to do it, and also the other person would have been Darth. Darcy Lace would have been the other one, but he's actually away. But yeah, you guys and everyone throughout the whole of our community have just been brilliant. Appreciate you all. Hope you've enjoyed, and stick around because we'll be playing some games, and we will see you in a bit. Peace.